Ms. Kelsey Hayden will bring a presentation, discussion, possible action regarding a presentation and update on the Texas Independent Park Project. Ms. Hayden, thank you for being here.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Kelsey Hayden with Parks and Recreation. And tonight I'm happy to be here to provide you with an update on Texas Independence Park and to present to you the proposed master plan for the property. The property is off of Rock Prairie Road, right next to the old landfill, and is about 68 acres in size. Following council direction last fall, we did initiate a public engagement campaign regarding the future of Texas Independence Park. What you see in front of you is the results of the online survey that we did in October of last year. We had about 550 respondents, and the primary areas of interest, as you see here, were trails, playground component, bike trails, a dog park, and disc golf. In addition to the online survey, we also hosted an open house here at City Hall. We had about 40 people in attendance, and they also had interest in trails, the playground component, pump tracks, a dog park, and disc golf. This spring, we worked with Texas A&M University landscape architecture and urban planning students. During one of their projects, they were able to create conceptual plans for the park. We had 12 different groups. These are 3 of the ideas that you see here. With council direction, we then initiated a contract with a design firm who took those plans from the student projects as well as the public feedback and stakeholder engagement to create the proposed master plan that you see in front of you. I would like to point out, to orient yourself, on the right side of this screen is Rock Prairie Road. On the left side of the screen is Midtown Drive. You will note that we added in we encompassed the Greenways property that the city owns that is adjacent to the park. It adds an additional 60 acres and is a really great opportunity to utilize that space for passive recreation. I would also like to point out the connections to the Lick Creek Trail. It's on the bottom of the page there. There's 2 different connections into Lick Creek Trail, as well as 2 different connections into the Midtown residential area on the top of the screen. There's a lot of components wrapped into the park, and so we have a bubble diagram to help us walk through each of those elements. The light green area of the park, you can note the trails that go around the entire property. Those trails will tie into all of the different elements so that park patrons can traverse the park without having to be actively involved in any one of those elements. We'll go from the right side of the screen down to the left side of the screen. So we'll start with the yellow bubble, which we are calling the Destination Play Experience. It will incorporate a playground like none other in the College Station or Brazos Valley area. It will be a signature piece that will really be a destination for families to come and enjoy. The red bubble next to that, in the middle of those 2 bubbles, you'll see the existing restroom. It was incorporated into the really active area of the proposed park. The red bubble would initiate bike park number 1. It is meant to be for novice bike riders, so it incorporates a pump track and a strider track for young bikers. That's why it's close to the playground area. Bike park number 2 is in the orange bubble, and that is 2 miles of flow trail for mountain biking. The dog park area is in green, and that is proposed to be 2 different parks, one for small dogs and one for large dogs with washing stations and the like. Next is the blue pod, which would be the fishing pond. That would take the existing pond on the property and expand it into a fishing pond similar to Central Park, where we would work with Texas Parks and Wildlife to stock it and be a community fishing lake. The purple and the pink would encompass the disc golf course. It is proposed to have an 18-hole disc golf course. Currently in our park system, we do not have an 18-hole course. We have 9-hole courses. We have 3 of them, but you need an 18-hole course to host tournaments or professional games. And so it is proposed at Texas Independence Park to have an 18-hole disc golf course. In the purple bubble, it is proposed to be on the northern side of the park where it would have accessible trails and the tee boxes and disc golf holes. On the west side of the property, or in the pink, it would be more natural trails because it is in the greenway, but it would still incorporate the other 9 holes in that area. And additionally, there would be a lot of natural bike trails on the west side of the property that you see in pink. We also incorporated some pictures to help you visualize what each one of those components might look like. These are just ideas, of course, for visualization, but the signature playground would be something like this. It would be really large, but it would be designed to theme to the Texas Independence Park. And so it would be a signature piece that we could customize to our liking for the theme of the park. These are different pictures of biking trails and bike park elements. The top picture is a visualization of what a pump track or strider track would look like. Additionally, there you can see elements of natural bike trails and biking elements that would be incorporated into the master plan. The fishing pond for visualization, again, similar to Central Park, would be a stocked fishing pond, and it could potentially have a floating dock like we have out at Central Park. And then this picture helps you visualize a lot of the multi-use walking paths throughout the park would be, we'd have a lot of concrete paths for accessibility, but we'd have a lot of different natural elements as well. This slide takes each of those bubbles and the proposed master plan. The design team also provided us with estimated costs for each of those areas within the park. These are high-level cost estimations for each of the bubbles that we mentioned earlier. And this is construction cost, so it does not include full design. That would be an additional cost. These are construction costs, but the construction costs also include contingency, so a 20% contingency, which is what we do on our projects. In addition, it accounts for escalation at a 4.1%. And then each of these areas also includes signage and landscaping and elements that would be tied to each one of those areas. So if Council supports the master plan as it is proposed, the next steps would be to bring back a design contract for your consideration. We also have had quite a bit of interest from area potential sponsorships, I'm sorry, and we're actively exploring each of those for different elements within the park. We also submitted our Texas Parks and Wildlife grant August the 1st, and so we'll hear back. That is a $750,000 matching grant, and we will know if we're awarded in the spring of 2025. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
We'll start with Ms. Harvell, and we'll go this direction and come back.
Great job. This is so exciting. What y'all have done is absolutely amazing, and it not only will it be an area for our residents, it'll also be a great destination for our visitors. I have one request. Years ago, when this first came before City Council, we chose the name Texas Independence Park, and I hope that when y'all are naming areas, you will keep the history and the tradition of the great state of Texas. I saw some El Camino trails that has nothing to do. So I'm just saying, keep that spirit of the Texas Independence Park when you're naming the different areas. Thank you.
Yes, we, as staff, have talked a lot about that, incorporating the Texas Independence throughout, whether that's on the names of the trails or the pavilions, and then incorporating signage to tell the story as well.
Mr. Wright?
This is fantastic. I am very excited. I think that it's nice that so much of this is based off of citizen input. So it always comes down to, if you want something, come talk about it. And there's a good chance that we'll do everything we can to make sure that, we'll do what we can to meet those visions. But this is exciting because this is not a park that we have, period. And so, and we kind of are making lemonade right now out of the lemons that was ballpark supposed to be there, but I'm really excited about this, and sort of I imagine something of this vision might be of what we were thinking on the west side, and that just kind of opens up the west side as to be we can do whatever we want over there. So it's great, and I think your team did a wonderful job kind of getting this together. It felt like very quickly, so it's amazing that we're here talking about it. So I really have nothing to add. I'm excited.
Mr. Smith?
Sure, I agree. I think it's a wonderful plan. I can envision the playground, something sort of like the splash pad area at Central Park that had private dollars donated to it, and it is a focal point, and people, it's a great family gathering place. I can see this park becoming the new best park to go to. And thank you so much.
Mr. Maloney?
Yeah, no, I like it as well. The only thing that I would have liked to have seen here is a space, or maybe there is a space there where I could have a pickup soccer game or pick up flag football, pick up a baseball game. As a kid, we used to just get a ball and bat, go up to the park and play. Don't have to be anything special. We bring our own nets or whatever. But is there any place in there? Is the general site work, picnic, and parking? Is that a place where I'd be able to play a game of soccer, pick up flag, football, families hanging out?
Yes. In that area that does say general site work would be a lawn space that could be used
so
for.
it'd be for pickup games of some sort. That's great. Thank you so much.
Mr. Yancey?
Thank you very much, Mayor Nichols. Like my colleagues, I'm over the moon at the design and the pretty pictures. I think it's fantastic. I love that this comes with citizen input baked in the cake, so to speak. What was our baseball fields? What were they going to be in total cost out there? And I know it's before your time. Was it about 18?
No, it was closer to 30.
Wow. Okay. And based on the numbers that you just gave me, so that's quite a bit of savings over what the citizens were anticipating they were going to spend out there. The 20% contingency, the $750,000 grant from the state. When I knock all that off, I get a delta. I get a final number of 13.27 million. So basically, it could conceivably, if we don't spend the 20% contingency, and if we get the $750,000 grant, come in at dramatically lower than the number you put in front of us. Is that, do I have that wrong?
The cost of this park would be less than the baseball, yes.
Well, I do know that. Yeah, I'm not asking you to check my math. Since you guys have extended this all the way out to, that's Midtown Drive, right?
That's correct.
Long before I was ever on council, an awful lot of promises were made about what was going to happen in Midtown. Now that we've got this natural connection, I wonder what my colleagues would think about naming, just on this side with signage, Texas Independence Park at Midtown, just to kind of a nod towards some of the many. I understand we were going to do things on the water tower that we didn't do. We were going to do signage that we haven't done. Since this connects to Midtown, I just feel like it just came to me today. Nobody has asked me to talk about that. And then general site work, picnic, and parking. How are cars getting there for parking?
The parking lot is right behind that. Let me show you.
You
There-
mean the existing parking lot, way over there by the,
It-
by the,
There would be a drive off of Rock Prairie, and then the parking spaces you can see there. On this map, it's just kind of showing that the green color is general site work, picnic and parking, which encompasses kind of the whole park, but
So there's some sort of road.
Is there a road in there? Where is the road?
Yeah, go back, Kelsey.
I
So
don't-
look at the dog park, look at the playground. Just above that is the parking lot and the
Yeah.
connection to Rock Prairie.
That's the parking lot to Rock Prairie, but this, we're talking about general site work, picnic and parking way over near the electric substation.
It's
That-
just a big open area.
It doesn't mean parking.
Don't get.
It means people parking, not, for
Hey,
bicycles, you can't drive to that, correct?
Yeah, I mean, not currently. I think it's mostly just saying we don't have this
Yeah, just-
program.
Yeah, no, I totally, I just thought the word parking, I think that's what you were talking about, right?
It's
word
exactly
parking
what I
and
was
the-
talking
the-
about. So there's not going to be vehicular traffic or parking right there.
not in that location, no.
Okay. And then just to orient myself, is that the substation? That's the white box right there next to Midtown? Is that our electrical substation?
Yes.
Okay, and then the $5 million in infrastructure that we put in the ground, that part and parcel of why we're here today is we didn't want that infrastructure to go to waste. I know that infrastructure has been utilized, and I'm sorry to focus on the sordid issue of coin, but it is the taxpayers' dollars. Is that $5 million in the 13.27, or is my 13.27, which I've netted out because I know staff and I know our capital improvement projects division, and we don't ever spend what we budget for, and that's a good thing. Maybe sometimes we're even overly conservative in how we budget. Is that $5 million worth of infrastructure in that number, or is that what's come past and it's not included in this total?
That's what's come past and is not included in this total.
But for the taxpayers' peace of mind, not a nickel of that $5 million, despite the contractor engineer soil tests failure, not a nickel of that $5 million went to waste. It's all being utilized on this project. Is that correct?
Correct, and the restroom you can see there between the playground and the bike park nestled up there. So it will be used in this space as well as the infrastructure that's been put in.
Great deal. Well, I want to commend staff on how fast you guys moved on this. That was a terrible disappointment about the baseball fields. This is exciting. This is like an exports park. You know, there's a little something for everybody in there, and there's a lot of land out there. I worry about the cost because I believe it's our job to worry about the cost. But given the fact that we spent $5 million, we have a Cracker Jack staff that I don't think will spend the number y'all have hung on this. I think you're preparing us for a worst-case scenario, and I feel like it's going to be a lot less. Subject to the Midtown branding, which I think is important on the Midtown side. You're right there on Midtown Drive. I'm asking for it once, not encircling all the park and everything, but just once over on this side. I think is the least that we can do, given some of the previous promises that were made. And with that, I'll hush. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Yancey.
I just want to make a few quick comments on this. The only thing I want to say, because I want to make sure it's absolutely, we're being 100% upfront. There is one piece. We incorporated all the infrastructure and everything that we had built into this. But obviously there's one piece, if you're really pulling this out, which is the design of the baseball fields on here that obviously we're not recouping here. That's a separate conversation that we're having related to the consultant who performed that work. But that's a kind of minor thing and not related to the physical infrastructure, but I want to make sure we're 100% clear. And while I'm not, obviously it's council's decision what it gets named. We've talked to you about Texas Independence Park before. I will say that the ballpark was originally Texas Independence Ballpark at Midtown. So that was already the name for the baseball park.
So it is going to be branded that way.
We've just said we think we should keep Texas Independence Park, and we've kind of showed those images and actually talked about the branding. Ultimately, that's council's call for you guys to figure out, but I was just adding the context of when it was a baseball park, that was the name of it.
And the design of the baseball fields, is that half those monies that were spent? Is that the same company?
Right, that was the consultant, correct?
That subcontracted the soil test or
Correct.
conducted it themselves?
Yeah, that was subcontracted, but I just making that point, obviously, we are not reusing the money we spent on the design there, so.
And I appreciate that, and that is an important piece of transparency. Why doesn't half, in order to make things right for the citizens of College Station, why don't they design this park for us up to a point from a dollar perspective that we had previously paid them for the failed soil test?
I'm going to defer to, because it's kind of a pending legal matter, and we've had those discussions. I will say we pursued different options to get to what we feel like would be a good result for all. In the end, based on conversations, we felt like half was not the consultant to use to move forward on this project, but we're still in conversations about how to rectify the situation at hand.
Who is the consultant on the master plan?
On this master plan?
Yeah, this one.
It's Architect Studios.
Architect Studios, thank you. All right, Mr. Yancey, you completed or not?
Yeah, that matter's going to come before us at a more appropriate time, or is this the appropriate time? I defer to the city
No,
manager.
I would say we will bring it back specifically.
But we'll get some detail on that.
And right now, it's just been posted as an executive item because it's a legal issue.
Copy that. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Nichols.
Okay, now it's my turn. I'll echo all of the laudatory comments and go to the other comments. Whatever happened to disc golf? Did that get voted out by staff or
It's incorporated.
where am I? Am I missing it somewhere?
The purple.
I don't mean disc golf. I meant pickleball. Pickleball was one of the things that people identified. So obviously a decision was made, and maybe you can explain what the trade-offs were.
I think utilizing the space as a passive area and not including the pickleball because we knew we had the Anderson courts coming online, and it was a lower request when it came to public engagement.
I would just say too, we're trying not to build things that the soil issues come into play. And so,
Soil problems, okay,
Yes.
that's fair enough, I understand. I would say that playground's gonna be not real passive, that's gonna be a very active playground.
Certainly.
And those bicycle trails are gonna be very active. The front end of this is very active. How many acres do you say the entire property is?
The original portion was 68 acres, and we're estimating that the west side would be an additional 60 acres, so just under 130.
130 to 140 acres. I'm reminded of 1995 when we looked at 150 acres, now called Veterans Park and Athletic Complex. This master plan is not yet done out there. We still got options to complete that. Do you have a thought about phasing of this? I mean, to me, $20 million is a lot of money. I can see grants, I can see sponsorships, I can see lots of other things doing some pieces of this over time. And I assume staff and the consultant has given a little thought to how you might phase this and what the cost of the phases might be. Are you prepared to share any of that with us now?
Yes, I'm going to go back to this slide. That was one of the reasons that we had asked the design team to come up with the cost per each amenity area. One of the biggest parts of phasing would be the work that went into intentionally utilizing all of the space. So for example, the fishing pond, when that's excavated, that dirt will be used to build some of the bike tracks and the bike trails. And so there's a lot of components that tie together. And so during the design, the full design, we would look at phasing options for the park so that it would be really intentional so that you could use the most space and not impact it when you go to do a future phase.
Yeah, I can see this very clearly as a phased development over 10 years, and maybe even longer, depending on availability of funds, other priorities in the Parks Department and elsewhere for capital expenditures. Can you give me an estimate of what you think would you say the design contract would be? This is a master plan. Are we talking about 10% of that 16 million?
It's about 10 to 12%, and so we're estimating around 2 million for the design
2
contract.
million, and that's not included the way you've got that contingency escalation, a total of 20 million. So it's really a couple million more. Is the intent of this grant to be for the design, that contract?
The Texas Parks and Wildlife
Yeah.
grant would be used for the park construction. It could not be used for
It could
design.
not be used, so we'd have to come up with the money to do all of that
For the design.
final design work and then use that money towards the construction.
And just a reminder to council, we can utilize on this site debt that has already been issued to fund the previous project for some of these. So while it's all goes into the, whether you issue it or it has been issued, that's part of this is we have
So
some
we
money
got,
already there.
we have funding that is
Available.
encumbered, not available, but not encumbered.
You haven't encumbered it for this project,
we
but it
have
has
not.
certain things that it can be used for, one of which is projects on this site.
So when would you come back to us with a recommendation that we hire a design firm for X dollars or that we put an RFP out?
I think in the next couple of months, we'd have to
Okay.
put it out to bid.
So you're not asking for that tonight?
No, we are asking for approval of the master plan so that we could move forward with that as the next step, and then we would bring that contract back to council.
I think they
Well,
are there.
pardon?
I think they are asking.
They're asking approval of master plan. We have not, we aren't saying when we're gonna build it. I mean, that's when she comes back, asks us, okay, she needs $2 million or whatever the bids might be to do the actual design work, then we'd be actually making a commitment of funding, which would then lead to some of these phases. And I'm open-minded about it, but I'm also concerned about $20 million, and that's
And so I
Pretty
think,
big
again,
one.
I think if I remember, and because we're not allocating it tonight, I won't go into to make sure I'm exactly positive on this, but I think we have about 8 million sitting there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we'll just make the statement, obviously, this is not in place of building baseball fields. We're talking about baseball
Right,
fields
right.
separately, to make sure that's clear. But, so what you'd be doing at any point is just saying, yeah, we're gonna allocate that money to this project. So kind of the way it's gonna go is we would come, if council says, yep, where you are right now, we're good with this, we like where it's going, then we'll go back and work on getting a contract basically to do the final design. And that will come back to council with the price and for you guys to approve. And again, then even if you go to full design on the whole project, which generally would be my recommendation, is you have them design the whole thing out. Then you decide, okay, based on better numbers at that point, because you have a better design, what do we think we're gonna try to tackle in one phase, or are we gonna do it all at once? And then, if you have a full design, you also have the option to bid it out with alternates. So if the price does look a little more favorable and the council says, well, we'd like to see if we could take it down all at once, then you go get the bids and you bid it in an alternate form, and you still have the option to, do the whole project or phase it. So just from a standpoint of like how a project comes about, that's the kind of the way you see it work over time.
and at that point, I could ask questions about the O&M expectations.
Right.
Because that's, of course, we knew we were gonna have O&M. Anytime you build a park, you're gonna have O&M, so we'll have that discussion at that point.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about O&M.
I know you are. That's one of the reasons I asked it, because you wouldn't give me a bad check mark if I didn't ask the question. Okay, any other questions or directions for, Chair, I guess would ask for a motion to, adopt this as a, what are you calling it, a master plan?
A master plan.
A master plan as a guide for the future, development of this park.
A second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries, and you have a master plan, and we'll see how it works out as the phases come in. But lots of exciting things out there, and I really love the idea of connecting all the way to Midtown Drive, although I know there's an awful lot of woods and creek bottom in there, too. Okay.
I think we coordinated, right, Kelsey, with a couple of trails that the Midtown Development is building so that they tag right into this
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
long-term, that all fits together as well.
She mentioned that, and those can be adjusted a little bit as the design work goes ahead. Anything else you need from us, Ms. Hayden?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're moving to the regular agenda now.